Hello and welcome on the Watches TV, and today we will present a new Audemars Piguet timepiece we didn't really expect, the Remaster 01, a very nice watch limited to 500 pieces, a watch that makes sense for AP, and is mainly for business and brand perception reasons, and I will share my thoughts on this in our next primetime video. But today we are in for some more classical product description, as we had the pleasure and privilege of having it here at the Watches Club, and we have some pretty sweet detailed shots to share with you. Yes, sweet. Right. So today, for most people, Audemars Piguet resumes itself to the iconic Royal Oak, and it's quite a fair enough assessment. The Royal Oak and the offshore version accounting for approximately, well, let's say 100% of the brand's turnover. Okay, I exaggerated a little bit, but maybe 99%. Okay, but joke aside, you have to remember that AP exists since 1875 and the Royal Oak was introduced in 1972. And by the way, it wasn't an immediate success. So between these two dates, well, there has been many fantastic watches developed and produced by the brand of the Vallée de Joux. And when you say Vallée de Joux, well, then you think of complicated watches, kind of a true local specificity, and many examples can be seen in the brand's museum that we visited on a few occasions, for instance during our first watchmaking road trip adventure, and we're actually anxiously waiting to discover it again, because after it went through a very serious overhaul and now looks absolutely stunning. Well, this museum was supposed to be inaugurated in the coming days, and with it, well, the watch that I'm talking about today was supposed to be revealed. But this has all gone up in smoke because of what is currently going on. But at least we can still talk of this Remaster 01, which is an updated version of an original model dating from 1943, a timepiece specifically developed upon the request of one of the brand's third-generation owner, Mr. Jacques-Louis Audemars. And I use the word updated on purpose because we are not talking of an exact replica of this original model, something that we have been so used to see in the recent years, with so many brands simply digging into their vintage portfolio to come up with what they call homage and sometimes even new watches. Well, I like vintage watches, I wear vintage watches a lot, but I'm seriously a bit tired of seeing over and over again these re-editions. Often feels like a lack of creativity, even though there are obviously some pretty nice ones. But in the case of the Remaster 01, and for some quite subtle reasons, it feels more like a modern reinterpretation. But it's true that the original model already had a slightly edgier feel to it from the start, with this quite unusual steel and gold bitone case and these elegant tear-shaped lugs, a nice Art Deco touch. Okay, so on this new version, the case size is slightly bigger, passing from 36 to 40 millimeters, since it houses AP's new integrated chronograph introduced last year. So the case features a sapphire case back, and the steel part and the gold bezel are polished. The champagne dial is more or less the same as the original, but sub-counters have been inverted precisely because of this new movement's architecture. And now the minute counter is at 9 o'clock, hour counter at 3, small second at 6. And just a quick side note, with this special red 45 number featured on the minute counter due to the fact that Mr. Audemars liked to keep track of time during football games. And the hands, again, more or less the same, but nevertheless so slightly reinterpreted. But a clear wink at the historical model is the logo with this Genève indication, as the brand used to have a workshop here, and obviously Geneva being slightly more well-known at the time than Le Brassus. Something, well, also used by other brands. I mean, you can think of Omega Genève, or Breitling, for instance. So coming back to the watch, well, this is a flyback chronograph, and you activate it with these nice oval pushers, a shape we are not so used to anymore. Pusher at 4 o'clock for the flyback function, or to reset it to 0 once you've pressed the on and off pusher at 2 o'clock. Personally, I think the crown is a bit big, but faithful to the original model, and that's only my personal opinion, so who really cares? But makes it easy to operate when setting the time, and when you pull it, well, it triggers the stop second mechanism. And regarding movement specificities, well, it beats at 4 Hz, offers 70 hours of power reserve, and contrary to the historical model, it's automatic, as you can see with this big gold rotor with Clou de Paris feature, a design characteristic obviously quite dear to the brand. So something additional I wanted to say is that it's a slightly revised version of the movement introduced last year, since this last one also had, well, still has obviously, a date feature, and thankfully, I mean, the date was removed on this Remaster 01, because I doubt it would have cohabited nicely with this classical design. So the leather bracelet goes very well together also, and there's also an alligator version coming with it. And well, overall, I mean, this is a very nice timepiece. I really like it. But at more or less 50,000 Swiss francs, approximately the same in dollar and euro, well, it doesn't come cheap. But will that be a problem for AP? Well, I doubt it. The brand is just so hot now, and though 500 pieces may seem a lot, well, this only represents around 1% of the brand's yearly production, and they sell practically everything. Okay, it might not appeal to what I would refer to as traditional collectors. These would rather prefer probably the historical version, and or other smaller independent brands today. But again, I'm not afraid for AP regarding these watches, which on top of it will only be available in AP's own boutique. Another way of sending a message on the advantages of being part of the club of loyal AP customers. Well, I still have tons of things to say about the meaning of this watch, but this will be part of our next primetime show. The Remaster 01 put in the perspective of the code 1159, the evolution of AP, the evolution of its perception from collectors. Who says Remaster 01 implies 02, 03? No? Well, tons of interesting things, and until then, I hope you enjoyed this. See you real soon. Thanks for watching. Viva Watchmaking, and stay safe!